Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 1 Point Safety Show with myself, Scott Hartley, and my co-host, Andy Lockhart. Scouse Andy, how are you this week, mate? You all right?
Yeah, it's Thursday evening. I can't complain too much, I suppose.
Yeah,
How
I
are
know
you?
the week
How are you doing?
really busy. The week's been very, very
Yeah.
busy at work. So yeah, I can't seem to get out of work at the minute. So I was in from 6 till half 6 today. So yeah, busy time. But hopefully in the next couple of weeks it'll be back to normal, I think. But yeah, lots and lots of health and safety issues going on, which is what we want
Sorry, mate.
within
Sorry, mate. You
the
talking to me
thing.
then, mate? You talking to me? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Boring hell,
exactly.
bro. Boring hell.
Yeah, I know, bore off. Anyway, so we're delighted to be joined again by a special guest on the show, which seems to be a regular occurrence at the minute, but it is the off season, so we want to try and get through as many people and as many voices as possible from the UK. So we're delighted to be joined by Stuart Cullen, who hit us
How's it
up on
going?
Twitter. Hiya, mate. Nice to meet you and nice to speak to you. He hit us up
Mhm.
on Twitter and just said, look, guys, can I come on? Yeah, we're more than open to that. So if anyone is out there who is on Twitter, our handles are after the show. By all means, send us a message and we'll probably get you on. So yeah, Stuart, thanks for coming on with us. Really appreciate you being here. Just going to ask you a few questions just to get your story on how you became a Washington Commanders, Redskins football team, whatever you want to call us, or wherever you started. We'll go from there. So how did you start to follow the team then?
Well, first of all, thanks for having us on, guys. But yeah, no. So I was born in DC in 1984. So actually, 2 weeks after the Super Bowl loss to the Raiders.
Wow.
So
Oh, nice. Mm.
and obviously, my father was there on a posting, and so we were there. Then moved back to the UK. But not only did he bring me back, he brought back a video, like NFL films, Tale of Two Seasons. It was. And that video almost became the cornerstone to my fandom kind of thing. So bumped around, watched it a few times growing up, and then probably around 99, 2000, dug it out again with a mate. We watched it as we were playing Madden, took a break, watched a video, and then that basically changed the whole course of my fandom. Really got into it, as did my mate. And then it was pretty much every game from then on in.
Cool, man.
Wow. Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, it's funny, isn't it? Because we've all seemingly, myself, Scouse, Andy Burrows, big shout out to Burrows, yourself and others who we've had on, we all seem to be like this next generation of British fan, if you like. You have the older school, and no offense, Tony, I know you've been on the show before, or Mike, but you've got that school of the 80s who have been through it all, were young, grew up, and went through the 80s side. And then you've got our kind of fandom. I mean, I was still a little bit later than you. Scouse, you were kind of in between, but you're kind of on that 99, 2000 is kind of where this generation of fans almost started, which is really interesting to hear because you, like us, will have not seen much winning, which is
No,
really,
exactly. That's
really
why we're so
difficult.
jaded, isn't it? Yeah, so
Yeah.
jaded.
Yeah.
And we've
The good
obviously
old
had a few.
the good old Fan Snyder era.
Yeah, exactly
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
not good. What do you think's the hardest thing then, being a fan abroad, Stuart? What would you say?
There's a few things. I mean, obviously the time difference, like for the late games. I mean, we're not often on prime time, but when we are, it is a bit of a pain. But
Yeah.
obviously, do my best to stay up or go for it from there.
Them Thursday night or Monday night
Yeah,
football, Tuesday morning football, as I
yeah,
call it. Yeah,
exactly.
that's they are
But
quite hard. Them.
one of the things I really like, I don't struggle with. It just almost annoys me more than anything. Is sometimes the pandering to the overseas fan is sometimes everything's dumbed down a bit when they think they're talking about fans overseas, and as you guys know, and we know just as much or if not more kind of thing, because you dive down so much deeper.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, I'll be perfectly frank with you. I'm not your X's and O's kind of guy, but I know enough about the NFL as a whole, going around who's doing what, who's signed for what, which position is which, and Scouse is exactly the same. I mean, we're not going to pull out the fandom like your Tony Wheat, who can sit here and reel off every Super Bowl winning first round quarterback. He's that sort of guy. But there are X's and O's people out there who we fully appreciate. Yeah. But I agree with you. There are a lot of really, really talented British fans who understand the game more than Americans. And you're right, in some ways it does get pandering to that. But we've built quite a really good community up here within the podcasting world, and I'm grateful to our American brethren across the way who let us on their podcasts, and we're kind of turning the tide a bit here. So I'm glad you're in our corner fighting with the British fans. So yeah,
fly that flag, man.
Fly that flag, mate. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, I must say I have noticed in the last few years, obviously, probably what with the podcast coming up everywhere, kind of thing, there is a real community kind of in the UK on the Washington fans.
Yeah, there's a good few of us.
I think we're all suffering together, aren't we? Really,
we are indeed. Yeah, we are.
Well, misery loves company, doesn't it? So,
it does.
That's it, man. That's it.
You got questions, Scouts?
I think that's why we're quite in, as you mentioned, that kind of like a camaraderie kind of team UK Washington fan, if that makes sense. I was thinking about kind of going back to your kind of times, Stuart. What's your kind of favorite moment of being a Redskins fan or a Commanders fan? Like, what's your best play? Like, is there a favorite play that stands out? Or
I mean, that's a great question. When you sent it through the other day, I was like, it brought up some great memories and also some sad ones. I think off the top of my head, my probably favorite one that I saw live would probably be the Mike Vanderjagt blocked field goal by Sean Taylor, who then
and went the other way.
Went the other way, and then obviously we got the field goal for the win. I say I saw live.
Right, remember that one?
That was on TV, obviously. I've got a real bad habit of every time I've been to a game, Washington have lost and lost bad as well. So
nice. So you're not invited.
Yes,
next year.
No, you don't want me. My first game I went to was against the Eagles, and we lost 42-7, and I got tear gassed in the stadium, so that was good. And then I saw them lose to the Saints when Sean Sweezum missed a 23-yard field goal to win it.
Oh no!
And then there's obviously the tie in London. That was painful. And then
so you've been a couple of times to FedEx, have you?
Yeah, no, I've been a few times. Been lucky enough to go over a few times. Went with my dad for my 18th, and then we had a family trip over, and then I went with my fiance as well to a game.
And, she into it? She misses into it.
So she, when we hooked up, started going out, kind of thing, she realised that if she wanted to see me on a Sunday when I was going back to the work to base kind of thing, she would have to watch it basically. So she's got into it. She's a 49ers fan.
All right, okay.
So she's had some great times, but
up until this year.
Yes,
dodgy elbow guy. Yeah.
That's why he's Brock Purdy's the Mr. Irrelevant, I suppose. But hey, it's just bad luck that I thought they were really good.
Mr. No Elbow, Mr. No Elbow.
Mr. No Elbow.
We call him.
That's him.
Yeah.
But no, there's been some really good ones. Obviously, like the Monday Night Miracle. I remember recording that, waking up, watching that one, and that was great as well. But I'll probably go with the block field goal by Sean Taylor.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That was nice because that ended up being we took it. That was 5 seconds to go.
That's
and
right.
Yeah, and Taylor blocked it, and then it kind of went back with it. But then there was a holding penalty, wasn't there, or something?
I got a face mask.
That's right. Face mask. That's right. And then ended up being knocking us into field goal range for us, and there was no time on the clock. But
those ones don't often go away. But it was good to get one over there.
And that guy nailed it through. Yeah, it was great.
So, you got any other interests out there apart from Washington that you want to tell us about that you're interested in?
I'm into all my American sports really. So I love the baseball, but I'm an Orioles fan for the baseball because Washington didn't have a team when I was growing up. So Orioles fan, and I wasn't just going to jump ship to a new team. Yeah. Obviously, I've got a wife, a couple of kids knocking about, so. They take up a lot of time.
Yeah, just family time then. Yeah, I get you. It's completely.
Yeah, really into shuffleboard at the moment, playing a lot of that kind of thing. Cool. With a couple of mates. Yeah, been invited out to the World Championship, so that should be pretty good. But but no, I'm not that many good. I think they're just desperate for numbers, man. Yeah, but
don't do yourself down. Don't do yourself down.
Again.
Don't do yourself down.
Not good enough for anything.
Yeah, watching American football is my number one passion. Definitely. Yeah.
Fair enough. Cool, all-time favourite player for you then?
So again, harking back to that video, Taylor 2 seasons, the 80s and that. So Joe Theismann was probably my idol growing up. I even used to get birthday presents from him. My mum used to send they were from Joe Theismann, with Darrell Green and John Riggins as well. But they do say never meet your heroes. And when I met Joe Theismann, I don't want to get political, but he was more than happy to sign this MAGA hat and started waxing lyrical. So I was like,
okay. Oh, mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Happens quite a lot that, you meet your heroes and you let you down, It's like, oh, wish you never met,
But no, he was great. He signed a couple of things for me, and yeah, nice guy.
That's cool. And what about kind of who's your current favorite player?
I mean, obviously the easy answer, the obvious answer, as a few people have said, is Terry McLaurin. He's great, and you often wonder where we'd be without him. But the state of our team at the moment, I mean, you can't really look past Trez Way because he's always doing something.
You're the second one who said that in recent weeks.
Mr. Consistent, man.
So consistent, like pro bowler, and but just good, and also like a funny guy as well, kind of thing.
Yeah, he's cool, isn't he? Like, you ever watch his Hang Time shows?
Yeah, his Hang Time show, and like when
cool, man.
Mic'd up, he was funny. Yeah.
Yeah, I do like. There's a little story if you watch him on YouTube about Tress Way going back to when he was in high school, I think, and they picked him up at NFL Films, picked him up and said, "Oh, we're going to watch this kicker," because he was a kicker at the time, and it was, "Oh yeah, we're going to watch Tress Way," and then they went back, obviously to now. I think it was 2020 season. I think they went back to see him, and on there you can see what sort of guy he is. There's a kid who obviously shouts as he comes out the tunnel saying, "It's my birthday," and he runs back and goes, "Oh, okay, yeah, you've seen it, have you? Yeah, it's cool." And I just think, no, that's the sort of guy that you want to be around. Do you know what I mean? Who you can live off, and it's quite clear that even with the specialists and the camaraderie's there, the video for Jeremy Reeves, you can see that bond is there. In the locker room, and he's obviously a well-liked guy. I mean, he's by far and away our longest serving player now, and I think is his 13th season now coming into.
Yeah, he's certainly got a few years under his belt, but again, also
he's 32 or 33, I think he is now.
I don't know. I just hope he goes on forever. To be fair, but,
as a punter, you can technically.
I don't know. Can you be 40? Maybe 45. I don't know. Maybe 45.
I think 40 is reasonable. Yeah, I think 40.
Yeah, so hopefully we've got him for another 6 to 7 years or so going on from there. Well, no,
hopefully we won't need him.
It's been amazing listening to your story and understanding why you became a fan, really, and what gripped you with it, and how you became a Washington Redskins fan and obviously a Commanders fan. Last question I'm going to ask you then is, what do you think of the name? Are you used to it yet? Do you like it?
I don't like the Commanders name.
Okay.
First of all, I thought like the rollout was absolutely abysmal. I know, like this President Jason Wright and that he's made some real cock-ups, I think, like with how he's brought things about. I know he obviously didn't choose a name. I really grew to like the football team. I thought it was quite good. My friend, he had a really good line. It was like when Prince started calling himself the artist, like you're the definition of the football team, as it were. But I understand why it had to change. It certainly, doesn't stop me wearing my stuff, as you can see. Or
we've all done it. We've all got it. We've all got Redskins gear, and we're not afraid to say that.
My office, mate.
Yeah. But funny enough, like
stuff in here, mate.
All the kids stuff that I had growing up, like my kids wear now, kind of thing, like genuine AC stuff, which is quite funny. You get some funny looks in the playground sometimes, but
you can't say that.
But
nightmare.
Hopefully, with a new owner, I know it's ridiculous to say, but hopefully a new name.
Maybe we'll go down that route. I don't know.
I would love to go back to the Redskins.
I can't see that happening.
Imagine that. Imagine Bezos comes in and just goes, "Fuck it, I'm bringing back the Redskins." Oh man, instant love right there for Bezos straight away.
Yeah,
all the fans to come back and everything. Honestly, man.
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, you could say the branding's been a bit of a balls up, for want of a better term, really. I mean, the ticket sales are obviously at their lowest they've ever been.
Yeah.
I mean, you will know it if you lived out there. You'll know it more than we do. There used to be years where divorces, people used to get divorced and put season tickets
season ticket thing was, that was like the
50-year
years waiting list.
Unbelievable.
Now you can walk in and choose where you want to sit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
you go, exactly. True. Oh yeah, I want that seat there, and you're going to get it. It's ridiculous.
It's
man.
Crazy. And I'm kind of getting used to the name now. It's been a year. We're there. I'm wearing a t-shirt.
I'm used to it. I've got a Commanders hat.
You've got a hat. We've seen the inaugural Commanders game, so that was awesome to go and physically watch that and be like, yeah, you know, it seems like it's new, but for me, it almost seems like it's that expansion franchise rather than being the historical
That's the problem.
franchise that it was.
And that's what you're going to get from the new owners, aren't you, as well? They're going to say the same things. Like, well, I'm not buying the Redskins. I'm buying some new franchise, some expansion team.
Definitely.
You know,
I mean, it was a shame, like some of the other names that were knocking around, like Red Wolves or Red Tails and all that kind of thing, which had like a bit more meaning. The Commanders thing is, I think it's just a cheap play at the military in the area, but it's, yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of it. I mean, I'm getting used to it, but I mean, I was fuming. I was fuming when we first changed it. We were going to change it to the football team in the first place. I was like, no, what are we doing here? I mean, no. But
no, it's a disappointing time for sure.
I just think it took too long as well.
Yeah.
I think it just took
2 years
too long
to come up with Commanders is a bit.
Well, the fact that the Cleveland Indians changed to the Guardians within 6 months, kind of thing, and that was a good name as well, and I had a tie to the city and everything.
And I think having the Chiefs still being called the Chiefs, still doing the tomahawk chop.
Yeah, I mean,
every time I saw that on Sunday, I was just sitting there thinking, how's this allowed? You know what I mean? When
well, their sponsors haven't got involved, have they? Because obviously Dan, again, like we've said a few bad things against him, but he was like determined he wasn't going to change the name. But as soon as the money stopped coming in, and as I say, money talks, but as they do say, winning cures everything. I've put a couple of winning seasons under the belt, and then
I think that's all we got to do. And I think that you're right. You are absolutely right to recognise there has been mistakes in the way that things have been done. I think that they are aware of that and they are getting better at doing things. I mean, you recently spoke to Jason Andy on the Bunker Pod, so again, shout out to Freddie and Andy for doing that and getting him on. And he explained that they look at a 2, 3, 5 year process, especially off the field. We were lucky enough to meet him before the first game of the season this year. And he was open and honest and talked to us about things that had gone on, mistakes that had been made around, obviously, Sean Taylor the first time round when they tried to do that. And then the second time it didn't really, again, it didn't really look like it was, it was all thought out well, but that was done by the family, and they were quite happy with what was done for him.
Jason told us that's exactly what his daughter was actually the one who made the Sean Taylor.
I think what's really good about Jason Wright is he does talk to people, and he is quite open. Whereas, like in the past, obviously we've been a complete closed book, haven't we?
Look at the quality dudes we've had. GM Vinny Serrato, scumbag. Bruce Allen, even
Bruce
worse.
Allen,
you know what
wow.
I mean? You can't get worse than these dudes. I mean, but Jason is a really, really nice dude. When you speak to him, he's a really nice guy. He's got loads of time for you, even though he's a really busy guy.
Well, thank you for letting us know your story, really, Stuart. Really appreciate you being on here with us and giving us a follow, and the feedback that you've given us for the pod. We really appreciate that, and thank you for joining us. Obviously, stick with us for the rest of the show.
Well,
that's fine, no problem at all. We've got a bit of news then. So ROC search is still here. Obviously, if Scouse bet his life on it last week and Ron Rivera seems to have let him down,
I would be dead. Yeah.
He was adamant that we'd have an OC
Ron.
in place by the time we recorded this. Eric Bieniemy interviewed this morning. I know that he was out last night with the top brass of the Washington Commanders as well. And we've also recently interviewed Greg Roman as well. For me, I think we're down to the final 2 candidates. It's either one of these two who is going to get the job. I mean, you could still throw a left curveball and be like, right, here's one out of left field. Here's Pat Shurmur or Ken Zampese, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Those are the 2 guys I was going to say, besides the 2 you mentioned.
Do you think they're the 2, do you?
So I think Zampese is going to be the backup plan. I think he's plan C, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Do you guys think that they would want the job?
Well, that's the question that's been asked, isn't it? Why would Eric Bieniemy want this job? Now, I get that and I understand that, but he's out of contract. Doesn't have a contract with Kansas City anymore. And it seems like Andy Reid has come out.
But you don't just jump into bed with the first bird back, do you? Do you know what I mean? Like,
maybe not.
Well, maybe it depends how you play the game. But in saying that, I mean, with Bieniemy, Yeah, of course. You can look at the pieces we've got, and we have got some nice pieces on offense. We just need to improve certain areas. O line for one, and do you trust Howell or not? They're the two biggest, and obviously, yeah, probably a tight end as well. Probably tight end one we need, but so it can be attractive to an OC, especially someone like him who's been under Andy Reid's shadow for so long. Is it Andy Reid doing all the play calling, or is it Bieniemy? We don't know that, and that's the reason why he needs to come out of there and go somewhere different. He's obviously not good enough he's not good enough to go with the head coaching jobs because he just doesn't seem to interview well. Because I think he's had about 12 or 13 head coaching interviews, and he's not got one of them. So, what's that tell you about him? Is it that he's a bit rough around the edges, or he just doesn't interview very well, or they don't like the vibe you get from him? What is it? There's definitely something not quite right with him, and that's why I don't want him.
It is.
I'd rather come in.
Oh, I was saying it is strange that he has never been got the shot at the head coaching job. But I mean, sorry to cut you off earlier. I was just one of the reasons why you think he would hopefully want the job is with the hopefully impending sale, and I think Ron will be out with Dan. I don't think Ron would last 2 minutes.
But what happens if Eric goes as well because of it?
Well, I think. Well, do you think
that's the risk you're taking, man?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, it's a big risk for him.
It's a big risk.
He's putting his reputation on the line big time if he comes here. To be fair,
it's interesting, is it? Because if we get a sale done by March, they may move on from Ron, but it may be later on into the season, or it may be like midway through the season. We don't know. But if you can see that the offense is lighting it up and they're doing well, 2 or 3, 4 games in, he might get a chance at the head coach. And that's what he's probably thinking in his own mind is, I mean, if I was in Eric Bieniemy's position right now, I'd be thinking to myself, right, this is a win-win for me. If I do well and I prove that I'm doing well with an offense and we all get sacked and a new owner comes in and removes us, I've got a chance on the next carousel that's going to go around in the next close season to be a head coach. Or he might keep me. He might. If he's crap, then you lose your job. That's how it works.
But then you've lost your reputation. At the moment, his stock is at as high as
it's ever going to be. Of course it is. Yeah.
So so I'm saying
he's betting on himself, isn't he?
It's risk. It's 50-50 risk, man.
He's betting on himself, and
if you bet on yourself and you're a better man, fair enough. But
sometimes you've got to do that, though, haven't you? If you sat under the shadow of a Hall of Fame coach,
Arizona head coach is still there.
It's not. It's gone.
It's gone.
You took
John Gannon, was it?
Gannon,
or has he gone to the Colts? Both of the Philadelphia
I thought that was
defensive and offensive coordinators from Philly have gone and took head coaches jobs. One's at the Colts, the other one's at the
you're right, John Gannon.
The Cards.
My bad,
John Gannon. Yeah. That was Monday, I think or Tuesday. It might have been Tuesday morning he went.
Not keep up with the times, man.
No, Ian Rappaport, thanks very much.
Super Bowl hangover.
Andy head.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think I think you're right. I think it's either Eric Bieniemy or Greg Roman. Greg Roman would obviously bring you a completely different offense that would pander towards more running, more of a run game. But he's done well with Lamar. Is Lamar a legit quarterback? I don't know. He's got an arm, but you don't see it enough to say, you are that guy.
The thing is, though, it's like anything with Lamar. Lamar is like one of the best athletes there is out there, but his arms, he's got decent arm strength, but his accuracy is not great. But the thing is that he's never had great wide receivers.
It's true.
If he came to us, which could easily be a big splash from the new owners, by the way, because he is going to be available. Because they're nowhere near in contract signing with Baltimore. There's nowhere near it.
I just
$100
don't
million
see
short guaranteed.
I do not see how you're going to pay a quarterback $55+ million a year. It's just not with our cap space. No way. It's just not going to happen.
You do, but you just get all rookies and just shite off the back end there. Like Taylor Heineke-esque style of player.
I think the problem with Lamar as well, he wants all his money fully guaranteed.
Yeah, he does.
Because Deshaun Watson got his guaranteed, and he's a
lot
worse.
Thank you, Kirk Cousins. Yeah. It was his fault.
Exactly.
He was the first one who started that, so his fault. We'll blame him. But this is what people don't want to hear, and they don't want to hear that we did actually have a guy who, in the building who could have potentially started for us for the next 10 years, and he's in Minnesota. But people don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that. They just look at him and think, "Nah, he's not for us." And Kurt's got
That was
Curtis
one of
got his,
Shanahan's
issues.
one of Shanahan's last, wasn't it? One
Yeah.
of his picks.
It was indeed.
And he was, so he's a solid quarterback.
But that was our fault. That was
but
our
he's
fault.
solid.
We balls
Well, that's
that with
Bruce
the
Allen.
franchise
Yeah,
tag.
lowballed him.
Yeah,
They lowballed
totally.
him originally. They could have got him, I reckon, reasonable at the time. And Bruce was like, no, we need to see more. We'll tag you. Okay, then. Well, then that's it then. Goodbye.
Derek Carr's a free agent this week. They didn't pay him his money, so there's one there as well who could potentially come here, but he looks like he doesn't want to go to the Saints, but it's all about the money, isn't it?
It's all about the money.
It's all about the money. It's all about that money.
But Derek Carr was so bad, though. He was so bad for the Raiders that this year just gone.
He was terrible. Yeah. But is that coaching or is it him? Because I said it before on this show, and people laughed at me, and they laughed at me on the Burgundy Zone, the Bleeding Burgundy pod as well. But if you actually take his stats and you look at him, no one through 5 years has through more touchdowns to interception ratio ever in the NFL. No one. Look at his yards, look at his stats. He's got a brand new coach, and then he's had 5 offensive coordinators in 5 years at the Raiders.
Saying that, he's fit right in there, wouldn't he? Yeah.
So maybe. I mean, I advocated for him. I'll be honest with you, I really did advocate for him. But
but again, I think how much are you going to pay someone? How much are you going to pay him?
We just can't.
You're looking at minimum 30 mil, aren't you? Looking minimum 30s.
We can't do that. So the sale, then we talked a little bit about it there. The sale's been slow, from what I'm led to believe. I keep hearing various journos, national journos or local journos say that the sale, they're still hopeful that it'll be done before the owners meeting in March, which is towards the end of March, and not to expect any massive free agency signing or blowouts, because the problem you have with free agency is someone has to sign that check, and all the signing bonuses that you pay to a free agent come out of the owner's pocket. And obviously at the moment, Dan's not going to do that. And I don't think there's a way that you can have an agreement in place with the NFL where you can say, right, I'll sign this player and I'll sign this check. By the way, I'm going to add that to the sale fee. I just don't think that happens. That's maybe something that they need to change. If a team is in
it could be a gentleman's agreement, though, even though Dan's not a gentleman. But you know what I mean? It's kind of...
I mean, you could put money in escrow accounts, and there's ways and means of doing things in business. I mean, I'm not. I'll
sponsor you for whatever for 100 million.
Yeah. But it could be Man something like that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the funny thing is, I think when Carolina was sold to Tepper a few years ago, Ron obviously went through this himself, and Ron was trying to sign free agents, and it was a case of they were going to the current owner, and then they were going to the new owner and saying, "Well, who are we going to here for a decision?" So, but we're not at that stage yet because bids are obviously still going in. The only one that we know who's definitely name is linked and on the table is Josh Harris from the 76ers, and also owns other sporting teams as well. Net worth of just over $6 billion, but he hasn't got liquid assets. So again, that
he'd have to sell, wouldn't he? He'd have to sell one of his franchises.
Well, he bought the 76ers for $400 million, I think, back in 2019, I believe, and they reckon that's going to that could potentially sell for about $4 billion. So
really?
There's a lot of money. He has got a lot of money, but it's whether he's
it's all locked into things.
Yeah, it's whether he's willing to do things. And he had a tour of Ashburn this week or running up to the Super Bowl. It might be last week.
Probably thought, what a shit all this is. I'm withdrawing my bid.
But he's a local guy. He's a local guy. So
I wonder how much he'd get for selling his share in Crystal Palace as well.
Yeah, he's Palace, isn't he?
That's exactly who he owns.
I forgot. Thanks, Stuart. Appreciate you bringing that up. I couldn't remember. I did know he had sporting teams.
You also
but I couldn't remember his Palace.
To buy a team as well, you've got to have at least 30% in cash right there.
Yeah, that's it.
So if you're buying it for $6 billion, that's $2 billion in cash.
He ain't got $2 billion in cash. That's a certainty. And I mean,
we know someone who has, and he's bald.
Yeah, well, he's still being talked about, but again, it's. I mean, he can obviously come in. He can come in.
Do what the eBay do? You know, the sniper at the end, like the last second of the actual auction. That's what Bezos will do. Bang, right at the end. I'm telling you.
I mean, it's the dream, though, isn't it?
Is it though?
I don't think he's aren't they?
I think when you're the richest man in the world, or the second richest man in the world, I don't know who is. I think it's still Elon Musk, but anyway, either or. When you're in that top category of wealth, you got to do some shady shit, I think, somewhere along the line.
there's no doubt about it. But remember, we've had like one of the shadiest guys going for the
Oh,
last years.
I'm no
Yeah,
denying that.
anybody's not going to win. You know what I mean? So even if Bezos is shady, you know.
But also, like, we would solve, obviously, morals aside, it would solve a lot of problems. Your new stadium would be up. It would be fantastic. You'd be having a Super Bowl there within 5 years. Your staff would be the best staff in the world because it'd be paid the most.
Yep.
And also, he doesn't have any other teams. So this, in theory, would be his focus. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he holds out and buys the Seahawks because he's from Seattle. No, there will be
potentially
next year. Yeah, they're talking about it next year.
Well, I mean, don't forget, Bezos has been always slagging Dan off for about 5 years now, at least.
Exactly.
In the Washington Post.
And that's the sticking point, isn't it? Yeah.
That's
that's why Dan doesn't want to sell to him. Yeah. But also, as well, why would Bezos be doing that, though? Why would he be doing underhanded stuff to Dan unless he wants the team? He really wants the team. Why would he do it otherwise? You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense otherwise.
Also, though, like, hopefully the sale does go through. But did you see that Dan had registered his residence in the UK as a
Yeah, he's living in Burrow's back garden. We keep telling him he's in London, so he's in Burrow's back garden.
So do you reckon with 5 or 6 billion in his back pocket, he'd be looking to buy in the Premier League? Who knows?
No. No, I don't think.
I've heard Tottenham might be off for sale.
Can you imagine?
Lucky Burrows, son.
Yeah.
No, to be fair, Liverpool are for sale as well, aren't they, at the moment? So I'll be devastated if
Liverpool are be hilarious.
I think I'd have to leave Liverpool completely alone. I mean, if that's if Dan Snyder goes there,
I think I think he'll see his days out on a yacht flying around wherever he wants to go to. So yeah,
he does that now anyway.
Well, I think that's exactly where he's going to go. And I think the good things we can look at the sale from is he wasn't there the last few games. He wasn't at the retirement, Sonny's retirement jersey retirement. He wasn't there for that. He wasn't there for the final game of the season. He hasn't been present for quite a lot of the time. Obviously, he had his suspension anyway, where he was away. Yeah, okay. Well, we'll see what that means. But hopefully, this is now the time to get rid of him, and we can look towards a brighter future with a new owner, potentially a new stadium. Hopefully, it drives the fans back into the stadium, because if you're going to support the team and you've been long suffering like we have for this amount of time, this is probably the best times ahead. You could potentially say over these next 5 years, 5 to 10 years, we should be thriving. But obviously, a lot is about what's on the field. We're not really bothered about what's off the field. It's what's on the field that we watch every Sunday, and that's where we have to improve.
What is it? What is the product? The product is football, isn't it?
Of course it is. Yeah.
If it's not good enough, then no fan's going to be happy. So
that's true.
But the biggest thing for me is that if Dan Snyder goes, and it doesn't matter who it is, it could be anyone, it could be, it doesn't matter, but we're going to get an instant, I reckon, 25%, maybe even more, of fans just going straight back into getting season tickets. Just straight away.
I'm going to get a plane.
Because Dan's gone.
I'm going to get on a plane, that's for sure. I'll be at that parade, no problem.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Send me that party invitation, I'll be there.
And I think that's it. You can win the fans back. The fans are there. They're not left, as in like they've left them to support another team. And they do. That's like a half-hearted, oh yeah, I kind of like them now because we're shit. No.
I never understood that with it. That's one thing I never understood with American, people like that. They can just flip-flop between teams like so easily, and you've been a fan since 1999, Stuart. You've been a fan, and obviously prior to that as a kid, but you clearly pinned your colours to the mast then. Scouser, you've been late 80s, early 90s, was it for you as well?
Yeah. I think it was more 92 for me, yeah. So just missed it.
So
I kind of remember bits and pieces of the last Super Bowl that we won. But...
So we're all quite long suffering that way, but even when we're abroad, we're not leaving this team. So I just don't get that. Loyalty's maybe a big thing,
I think loyalty's a thing in the UK. I think that's
I think so too.
Quite ingrained. I think in us, as your football team or whatever sports team you're into, it's kind of like that's who we are. We identify with that. You know what I mean? And
all of mine are absolutely terrible.
Sometimes.
Yep. What would be the fun of supporting a good team? I tell you that.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I mean, Newcastle Falcons, Washington Commanders, and Carlisle United. Oh my word, it's just awful. Very
I've got
awful.
Blackburn Rovers and the Baltimore Orioles, so
well.
it's a shambles on every front.
Fair enough. At least you've seen some wins, Scouse. I'll give you that one. Yeah.
Yeah, true. Yeah, more recently anyway.
So we'll move it on then to our next segment, which is my favourite segment of the week. It is Scouse's Sizzle. So what have you got for us this week, Scouse?
For me, it's all about the it's all about this this OC search. It's like, why is it taking Ron so long to make the decision? It's like this guy takes forever, and he gives you missed messages all the time. You don't know what to believe from when one talks to you. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, well, why are you taking so long? Now give me the be enemy thing and all the rest of it. But he's been in the building today. We still not heard anything. So if you're waiting for him to be your number one guy, why haven't you offered him the job? Or if you have, why has be enemy said no? Because otherwise it would have been done. It'd be all to be announced. So what's going on there? So my biggest sizzle today is about Ron, man. He needs to get a grip. He needs to become more decisive. Sick and tired of his kind of half-ass flaming things he's saying. Oh, the run game's got to be 2-1, and then he calls back and says, "Well, actually, no, I didn't mean it like that." You know what I mean? It's like, no, bro. Give us a clear message. Stick with it. Stop bullshitting us, and just make the bloody decision, man. Do my head right in.
Well said.
Absolutely well said. I totally agree.
Wait a month now. What's it been a month since Scott?
I know it's been
fired?
a month. I'm just looking in just in case while we were on air. Nothing's changed. It's still
It's ridiculous, man.
Is he? Will he? Won't he? Will he? Won't he? No one really knows what's going on there. But,
Ron, you need to sort yourself out, man.
So
start playing golf, lads. Start playing golf. Get on the phone. Yeah. Get on the phone.
Come on,
and man. Actually offer the job to somebody.
Give the man a break. He's entitled to play his golf.
Yeah. He's had a month. Alone. That's a long break, bro.
He hasn't had a month off work though. He's been in the building.
What's he been doing?
I know that. I don't know.
What's he been doing? He hasn't hired anybody. He's not fired anyone since Scott Turner. What's he been doing?
No, I don't.
Nothing.
I don't know.
Playing flaming golf with Anthony Lynn. That's what he's been doing.
Maybe, man. There's a shout too. Has he been picked up anywhere? Where did he go anywhere?
Oh, he's still where he's at, isn't he? Yeah, he's still where he's at.
Interesting. So we'll wrap this one up then for the week, and we'll finish it off. We'll go into a bit more detail next week. We'll go through position group by position group and stuff like that, and hopefully have a new OC to talk about. But we'll go through this year in brief moments. So I'll ask you both these questions. So what was your highlight of the year this year then, Stuart, from this season just gone?
It'd have to be the Eagles game. I think the Eagles game was we've got history of like knocking off people's undefeated seasons. We did it to the Steelers a couple of years ago. Yeah. And the funny thing
was away as well, wasn't it? That was away as well.
It was 13-0, I think they were at the time, weren't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The funny thing was, I was in that Philadelphia bar in London the day before, meeting a mate for a few drinks, and got chatting to the staff in there. I said, "Look, I tell you what, I think that the upset's on the cards," and got laughed out there pretty much. But I made sure I called back a week later just to remind them. But yeah, no, that was amazing. That was a complete game, and often we don't see those from us. But that was great.
What about you, Scouse? Your highlight of the year?
Yeah, the highlight of the season. Scott Turner being fired.
I knew you were going to say it.
The guy's a joke. I'm glad he's gone, man. That's the best part. And then the second best is obviously us being there in the first game and seeing us actually win a game, which was nice. And seeing Carson Wentz decent deep ball for once. So that was quite nice. Yeah, very rare. Exactly, very rare. Yeah. So that was the second best thing for me. But for number one, by far, Scott Turner gone.
For me, there's two highlights of the year. The first one was obviously, as you said, going to my first ever game live. Wasn't lucky enough to get tickets for the Bengals game in London and hadn't had a chance to go across. Poor Scouse, they had to sit next to me for, the 8-hour journey each way. But we had a great weekend, met a lot of people out there who we've been speaking to for several years, and really fantastic weekend. And we got a win out of it, which is, unbelievable to see the first ever Commanders game. So that was a massive highlight for me. And the second one was Dallas. Actually, I really enjoyed the Dallas game, final game of the season, even though it wasn't for anything. We went into it thinking we're going to get absolutely smashed here. It's going to be, 30 plus point loss. And how we spun that out, I don't know. It was as if the shackles were off, but the thing that was disappointing, I suppose, with that, and it was kind of a double-edged sword there, was the fact that where was that 2 weeks ago against the Browns, and
Exactly.
that energy just wasn't there.
Well, the thing is that's the key word, energy.
Mhm.
All the guys who played in the Dallas game were all kind of like the guys who were like kind of on the cusp of the team. They weren't actually the main starters because there was quite a lot out, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And the rest of the guys who were banged up. Obviously, the Browns who played all the guys were all banged up and obviously didn't produce shit. You know what I mean? But that's why I think you should just give. That's why for me, it was a personnel problem. It was a personnel who you picked to start that game throughout the whole team. So that's on Ron and that's on Del Rio as well.
Yeah, and Scott Turner, as we've talked about before. So that's another two. That's another £2 in the swear jar. We'll put that one in. Were your expectations met then for the season, Scouse? What did you think? No,
just no. I mean, the minimum for me, as a fan, I'm always thinking playoffs every single year. You know, as long as you make the playoffs, I mean, great if you could win the division, but if we can't, fair enough. As long as we make the playoffs, that's the bare minimum for me. That's the bare minimum standard. If you don't make that, you've not had an okay or decent season. Great if you can start getting some wins in there, even better. But minimum for me is playoffs. And we didn't make the playoffs, we blew it. So for me, very, very disappointing, especially the last 3 or 4 games of the season. Really, basically from Giants onwards, from the first game of Giants.
What about ridiculous? You, Stuart?
Well, to be honest, I think they probably did meet the expectation because the moment they signed Carson Wentz, you just knew you weren't going anywhere. My brother's also a Washington fan, and when the news broke, it was like, well, it's like 30 million completely wasted. It is insane. It was really disappointing. Like that's who we went with, and I mean, Ron was so lucky that he broke his finger and he could go back to Heineke. Yes, unfortunately, they did meet the expectation. 8-8 is what I didn't think we were going to do much better than that.
Yeah, I had us at 10 wins. I had us at 10 wins when looking at the schedule, and yeah, slight disappointment for me. Undercooked. Obviously,
for me, I was looking at 11. I was expecting 11 wins this year from the schedule that we saw. The teams we played weren't very good teams.
No,
most of them weren't very good teams.
But I did not expect Philly to be as good as they were, and obviously you've still got a win against them. So, yeah, that was you can't complain against.
But doesn't that show how frustrating that is to be a fan?
Yeah,
it's like you can go out there and dominate one of the best teams in the NFL, and the Eagles were one of the best teams. No, they deserve to be in the Super Bowl, even though they must have prayed to some witch doctor or something to be able to get through the playoffs with all the injuries that the other teams had against them. So they didn't have to try half the time. But they are a very good side, a complete side, probably the most complete side out of all. And we went there and took it to them, and I loved it. Why couldn't we do that every week? I don't understand. I don't understand what the difference is. Was it the actual play call, or was it the overall kind of scheme, or was it that players are pissed off because of Taylor wasn't playing, or because some dickhead said something in the dressing room, or what's the actual reason why we couldn't play like that every week? What is
That's the $1 million question, isn't it? Oh no, I don't think we're ever going to know.
But what is it? Don't mean this is what Ron's there to figure out. But it's like you're getting paid shed loads of money, Ron, and you can produce games like that, but then you can produce absolute fucking tear games as well, and you got the same players on the field. So what is that?
I know it became a bit of a joke and a laughing thing amongst the fans, but it was so alarming that in that press conference when he didn't know that they could be eliminated that day.
Unbelievable.
And that speaks volumes to what's actually going on behind the scenes. It's like, did he enter the week preparing, not knowing that he could be eliminated? And you don't know what that means, do you?
You don't. That's
and that's the thing. What's really put me off Ron was that, because before that happened, if you ask me about Ron, loads of respect, love the guy, blah blah blah. But when you start cutting it down, that was the final straw for me. Like, wait a minute, you don't even know that you could be eliminated.
Yeah,
no, that's your job. That's your job to know that. You're not coaching the players. You're the guys coaching the players. So what are you doing, Ron? And he didn't even know. That's fucking rookie. That's rookie-esque. Rookie-esque type of fucking, that's NFB style head coach.
For $8 million a year, you're not getting a lot out of that, are you? Let's be honest.
No, that's what I'm saying. $8 million a year from to stand there like that with his arms folded, like, this is great. I'm just really enjoying this game, and then obviously getting the red flag the wrong times, and
Yeah, the coach.
It's like, come on,
The
bro.
time of
Come on, man.
possession decisions and the coaching and the coaches challenging was just, yeah, that left a lot to
It's
be
always the
desired
wrong
as well.
times, or he took too
Yeah.
long, or he was waiting for the replay. It's like, mate, you should have a gut feeling. Like, if you're there watching the game, that wasn't a catch, or that was
Well,
a catch.
where's the guy in the stands telling him, yes, it's a catch?
Exactly. All the other teams have got it. All the other teams have got it all built in. I mean,
I don't
there's
think our guy's probably Scott
yeah.
Turner saying something, though, isn't he? Like, oh yeah, is it? Because he's always up in the stands, isn't he? Like, oh no, mate.
But there's even got a guy. Most teams have got a guy to pull the coach back. You know, when the play goes past, or when the referees go past, or the chain gang go past, they've got a guy who actually stands on the side and makes sure the coach doesn't get on the field, because you can get fined for that. So, you know, it's
Imagine that. What's your job? Oh, lackey. What do you mean, lackey? What you do? What you do? Oh, make sure Ron doesn't get on the field. You know what I mean? Oh, bloody hell, man! It's a great job.
I'd take that job. I'd take that job
yeah,
too,
all day long.
Who was your standout player then? We'll go to you first, Stuart, for this. Who was your standout player for the season?
Well, it was Terry McLaurin. Again, when some of those catches he made, again, something that Eagles won, where he got absolutely leveled over the middle. That was a hell of a catch.
Indianapolis one.
Yeah,
wow.
The Indianapolis game. And everyone knows the ball's going to him, and he still makes the play. So
that's one thing that's very strange is Darius Slay is a really good player, but my word, he's in Terry McLaurin's pocket every single game. There's no doubt about it. Terry owns Darius Slay. That is a certainty. He just cannot, for the life of him, deal with Terry McLaurin, which just shows
imagine,
you how good he is.
Just imagine a quality QB would do with Terry McLaurin. Just imagine it. Oh, like
just think how good how good he'd be as well, because he's had is it 10 quarterbacks he's had to play with, Terry?
11 now, I think 11, he's at.
And most of them can throw as good as I can. Do you know what I mean? Like, these guys aren't good. These guys aren't good quarterbacks, really. And he's still producing 1,000-yard to 1,000-yard seasons. Yeah. And only one season didn't make 1,000 yards because he got hurt the last couple of games. And he couldn't play one year. I can't remember what year it was. I think it might be the second season, I think.
What about yourself?
That guy's awesome. What's that mean?
I was going to say, what about yourself? What was your favourite?
For me, my favourite. Oh, go on, Scouse. You go first, mate. You sure? Yeah. All right. My favourite player of the season, Cam Curl, I would say, came on again. He just. I don't think. I've heard. Obviously, we're talking about his contract extension, and people are talking about do we get him now in this off season? And what people don't realise is he hasn't got the biggest name within NFL circles, but the minute you take him out of our team, we're lost. You know, Derek Forrest looked like had an unbelievable season, but without Cam Curl next to him, it just wasn't the same player. And that back end just doesn't look right without Cam Curl in it. And for me, that's our safety tandem for the next 5 years. You know, sure, no problem at all.
Because Cam Curl is one of the best strong safeties in the NFL.
He's top three again. Top three again.
He is top three. He is top. Even forget PFF and all that. You just watch the impact he has on our team when he's out, like you mentioned. But then also he plays in 3 or 4 different spots. These guys, these guys that he's up against, Minkah Fitzpatrick and these other dudes, Derwin James, they play one position. He plays 3. He played linebacker half the time. He played strong safety half the time. He even did a little bit of free safety as well in coverage. The guy can do it all, and that's the reason why he's the best. Personally, I think he's the best out of all, even though they are excellent players who I mentioned, by the way. But he is that good. He is that damn good. And the thing is that, he was a 7th rounder, but that was because of the COVID year. No one could see how good he really was. So we just took a flyer on him, and that's how Smith got lucky with that. But what a player. And you've got to get him done now. Don't fuck around for next year. Don't fuck around, because if you fuck around with him next season, he'd be like the Devon Payne thing now. He'd be like, instead of a 20 million a year that he wants, it's going to be 23 million a year, 24 million. Because the cap's going to go up along with it, and he's going to expect that kind of corn. Yeah. Get it done now. Just pay the price, whatever it is. 18 to 20 mil is probably the going rate for Cam.
It's a lot.
It's big money. It's big money, but he plays 3 positions, mate. He's more than just one dude. He really is. He's that good. He's that good.
I think you're right, Scouse, as well. It's like, to be honest, if you've got a player who is even above average, you do have to sign them there and then, because the market only ever goes up. It's never coming down, is it?
Not
That's
when you're
right.
quality. Not when you're a quality
Yeah.
player, man.
And you
As
hope
you said,
that-
the only thing that's helping us is that, as you said, he doesn't have a national
Yeah.
audience yet. Where like, oh my god, this how good this guy is.
But if you
And
don't
that's the
sign him
reason
this
why you can get
season,
him.
if you don't sign him this off season, what's he play like next year? Does he then have that national audience? You know what I mean? Does
Well,
it does it
depends,
come
doesn't
to that? Does it come to
Because
that that
it
he
depends
then
who
has that?
he goes to if you don't sign him. If he
Yeah,
goes
that's
to
true.
Dallas, he'd be writing the TV all the time, wouldn't he? And he'd be like, "Oh my god, what a player!" Because he realizes how good he actually is. Because he'd be on telly all the time, like, and as in nationally. You know, it's UK's different to the Yanks. You know what I mean? Like we have it, we can watch all the games and we can watch, you know, nationwide. We can all watch the games, but we're there in the States, you can't unless you're national primetime games.
So
Like
who was your
San
standout
Francisco
then?
don't wash skins. You know what I mean? Like this doesn't happen.
Who was your standout, Scouse? Are you going
My
Cam
standout-
Curl?
Well, I mean, obviously, I love Cam Curl. I'm trying something a bit different, really. I'm probably going to say Jamin Davis. You know, he had a great, he had a big time step up
Definitely
in quality.
improved so much.
Yeah, and I think it's just knowing the system, knowing exactly what he's doing, and even at the mic, didn't he? He had the green dot.
Yeah, the
at back
green
of his
dot,
head
didn't
for a
he?
couple
Yeah,
of
the
games.
green dot. Yeah.
And he's calling plays, and you can tell he's just getting used to it, just getting his head around it. And he's just first season, yeah, he wasn't that good, but that's he was thinking too much. He was overthinking things, and he was always a step too far behind it. And then in the NFL, you can't be. You've got to be able to be. You've got to be so reactive and so fast, which he is. But the first year he was awful because you just couldn't. You just didn't know. Oh yeah, I should be reading that. You know what I mean? He was always thinking in his own head. This time around, it's come more natural to him, and you can tell that he's just a lot better. He's just a lot better, and he's just going to keep getting better. Hopefully, we can give someone with him who's actually any good, and then you know we might have a chance. But
I was going to say, if Cole Holcomb can get healthy again, he's had some good games. I know he gets.
he's okay. Yeah, I mean he's average.
Free agent.
He's
He's a free agent, and he's going to want probably 4 to 6 million a year.
Oh, well, he's gone.
That's
Then.
not horrific though.
Yeah.
That's not horrific. I don't think for
It's not
a middle
it's not-
linebacker. He's average. That's average wage, isn't it? Really for a starting linebacker.
Yeah,
4 to 6 mil. But for me, it's
so.
like I want someone better. You got to upgrade, not just get your same bang average dudes back. You got to upgrade. And for me, obviously, Troy Evans would be nice, but obviously,
Yeah, moving on from that, then there's another. This segues quite well into the next one. So, I'm not sure if you know all the free agents of the team that are out there, Stuart, and if you don't, that's fair enough. But is there a free agent that you want to see return that you would go right? We have to have that guy back again.
Return
Oh,
in the car
one of our
Yeah,
potential
one
free
of
agents.
our free agents. Yeah.
Is it Payne who's becoming a free agent?
Yeah, Payne's a free agent.
Yeah, so I'd want Payne back. I think he's quality. And again, as long as you can keep that line together,
this is the biggest
cost
problem.
some money, bro.
Yeah.
It's all about money, as we've just. Money seems to be the relevant theme through this pod tonight, but we're getting there with this, and it's Chase's 5th-year options up 17 million for Chase. Montez Sweat needs paid in the next off season. Do we pick his? If he's got a 5th-year option as well to pick up. You've got Payne, who's going to want 20 million. Is he in his 5th year now? This is his 5th year now. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
So as I say, next year you need to pay him. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah. So then, it's
it's painful, man. It's painful, pain. But you know what I mean? It's kind of.
But we always knew this was going to happen. Hard. We had this conversation 2.5 years ago, and it's like you can't pay all these first rounders. You just never.
Well, the thing is, right?
To do it
at the start when you had all these guys starting for you before all injuries and all that, you had obviously the same 4 dudes. Out of the 4, who would you have thought? You can't pay them all. One's got to go. Who would you be picking? At the start, who would you be picking?
Well, probably Sweat.
At the start, you'd probably pick Payne.
Payne, I would have said
at the start.
Gone. Yeah,
the start, I think.
Because you think, he's all right, but we can replace a defensive tackle. The middle guys. We can get someone. Now, because of his season this year, it's like shit. We can't let him go. How good's he? So now you're like, shit. So now it's down to, and obviously John Allen's already been paid. So there's no point in thinking about him going. So you've got the 2 ends, and one of them's got to go. So now the 2, you'd think, who do you want to who you got to get rid of?
Chase Young for me at the minute.
Because of his injuries.
Harsh.
This guy's meant to be.
Harsh, but yeah.
Don't forget, this guy was called the Predator for a reason, though. Do you know what I mean? Like, this guy is an absolute beast when it comes to chasing down quarterbacks.
But now,
been injured.
I'd rather pay Sweat than I would pay Chase. And I know that sounds really, really harsh, but we haven't seen it because of the injuries. It's so hard, isn't it?
But that's the thing.
Who'd be a GM? Who'd be a GM, eh? Who'd be a GM?
Especially for our team at the moment, yeah. I mean, because this is the problem. So you've got rags to riches throughout the whole team, haven't you? You've got unbelievable defensive line, then you've got absolute dog shit offensive line, or you've got or linebackers, one decent one, the rest are dog shit. Great wide receivers. See what I mean? Like you've got like rags to riches throughout the whole squad. We just need to sort it out, man. We need to kind of like find these not a Cam Curl, even better if we can find something like that in the late rounds, but anything even like half as good as him in the late rounds, in the linebacker or offensive lineman or even tight ends again. But we're just fucking. It is hard to build a roster. It's hard to build a roster, isn't it?
Really, really hard.
Especially when your QB is going to take all your cash. But obviously, when we're lucky at the moment, unless we go out and get one.
So, overall grade for the season, then, what are you going to say, Scouse? Overall grade for the season.
C-.
Good. Stuart?
I was going to go C+.
I'll go with a C. Standard C. A D. Yeah,
in between all of us.
Yeah. No, I'll go with the standard C.
It depends where you go, and if it's Scott Turner, it's F. If you go, we'll probably talk about that. The coaches next week.
Yeah, we'll talk about that next week.
Yeah, it's fucking.
And the last one for us then. Hopes for next season. We'll start with you, Stuart. Hopes for next season.
Well, obviously, new owner, number one, a competent quarterback, and like a good running game. I mean, I'm just like obviously the offensive line that can actually get you somewhere.
Great answer. You've took my thread there. I was about to go down that route. Scouse, what about yourself? Hopes for the season?
Make the playoffs. It's as simple as that. Got to make the playoffs, win a game, especially with the new ownership there as well. Ron's on the hot seat big time. We even heard about Sean Payton saying like some guys have been asking about him. Would he coach us now this season as soon as he takes over? Which means that the new owner didn't give a shit about just destroying everything in one go as soon as he gets in. So I reckon now that because Payton's gone, I reckon it will be that Ron stays for the season. But he's got to prove something. He's got to go out there and say, look, man, I'm good enough. I'm going to get us 12 wins, or we're going to get in the playoffs and get maybe one playoff win. Then you can go, okay, and then that make the owner think about do a fire him or do I keep him on. And that's the only way you got. If you're Ron, that's the only way you got to think about it. Do you know what I mean?
Tough changing season ahead, isn't it? It's a really tough changing season. New ownership, possibly new head coach midway through, or at least we've got pieces around like new offensive coordinator who could potentially become a head coach. We don't know how this is going to be.
We've got a brutal schedule as well.
It's terrible.
It's brutal.
This is the other thing.
Fucking brutal.
I thought if you had a fourth place schedule, it's meant to be easier on strength of schedule than because you're the bottom of the pack. But if you look at the caliber of quarterbacks that we're playing against next year, I can't see 8 wins. I really can't. I'm struggling to find.
That's why you got to make sure that we've got to be really good. Do you know what I mean? To be able to beat these teams.
I still hear the rumours that we're in play for Justin Fields and Chase Young could go to, as part of the bait and the 16th
if that's
pick.
the case, well then there's the answer to who'd you keep out of Sweat and Chase. You keep Sweat, you trade Chase, and then you get hopefully Justin Fields as part of it.
Keep hearing that rumour, and Bears Twitter was in meltdown the other day when they heard that. So, but they
were loving it or hating it.
Hating it, but they were quite. They seem to be quite high on Bryce Young and a quarterback within the draft. But I don't see that happening. I think
don't get a quarterback who weighs about 3 stone.
I think the Bears will trade out
it.
of that spot. I think they'll trade with Indianapolis, and the Colts will have the number 1 overall pick.
Where they pick at the moment, Indy?
Fourth, I think, something like that. Yeah. So it's not unimaginable to do that. So it'll be interesting to see. Well, that just about wraps us up then, folks. Thanks for staying with us for the show, Stuart. We really appreciate you being on as always, and thank you for coming on and telling us your story. Honestly, really appreciate you reaching out to us. And obviously, if anyone has got any feedback they want to give us, we are at 1PointSafety4 on Twitter. I don't have that in the outro, but if you listen to the outro after this, you'll be able to find where we are on Twitter as well for me and Scouse. Stuart, if you just want to plug your social media handle as well, just for people who are watching on YouTube or listening to the pod. if you want to do that.
You can find me at Disco Cullen for my rants on Twitter, or even on TikTok for my annual Super Bowl
Wow.
prediction.
You're a TikToker
Okay.
on the show.
Yeah.
Like it. Well, that's about us, but thanks very much for joining us, everyone. We'll be back next Friday morning. This should drop into your feed on Friday. We'll speak to you soon. Have a great week, everyone. Thanks.
Bye.